Hello guys, good afternoon. And today's topic is all about climbing mountains using your bicycle. And I don't want to introduce myself anymore, but if you're here on my channel and you want to learn about cycling and climbing up on a hill, climbing on mountains by a road bike or road bike or mountain bike, then you're on a proper channel. And I'm a Filipino. I used to be on a racing team, but not really on international scene. But I'm also doing some coaching stuff, fitness stuff, not just cycling. But most of it, my hobby is mostly cycling. So let me share to you some stuff on how to easily climb mountains or hills using a road bike or a mountain bike. So let's begin. Climbing is a stuff of cycling lore. When you picture the Tour de France, you imagine the yellow jersey climbing up all the hills, or dance Alps, or dancing on the pedal of Mount Ventoux. Like for example, if you try to ride Mount Ventoux and watch Tour de France, you see that the cyclists there would really have to dance. Dancing means it's off the saddle, pedal hard. So the roads are lined with thousands of fans who part like the Red Sea as the best climbers in the world, makes their way into history books. Well, if you watch Tour de France, it's really a hard race. Yet for most of us, climbing does not look so iconic. It can be hard, painful, even. And there's nothing worse than running out on gears on a 14% grade and grinding to a halt or watching your mates ride off into the distance. So if it's a group ride and getting steeper going up to the mountains, you'll just see your friends going up, up and away, and you're just stuck there and finding more gears. Wish you have find more gears, but there's none. So you have no choice but to take some rest, or pull or push your bike going to the top. If the thought of climbing fills you with dread, it doesn't have to. There's a different spirit to the suffering when you are the one driving the pace. Here's how to work on your climbing so you will feel more control on the slopes. Is you have to target the climb. Arguably, the best way to improve your climbing is to get stronger, but what type of stronger will depend upon the climbs you plan to attack. Specificity is the key. This is why we see so much variability in the training of professional cyclists. Grand Tour riders train 30 hours per week because the races are 30 hours per week. Track sprinters train into the gym to improve their explosive power output, and cyclocross riders perform short anaerobic efforts in forest trails and sandpits, whilst also practicing their technical skills. And also, for mountain bikers, they try to vary on their practice, gym, upper body training, their torso, all of it, not just riding bicycles. So if you're training for a race in the Pyrenees, you should focus on long and sustained efforts. Conversely, if you're training for a classic one, you should also focus more on improving your VO2 max and your anaerobic power output. I will not explain what is VO2 max and anaerobic power output here, but for beginners who wish to really put some thrill on their climb, you don't need this stuff. This is our serious stuff for racing. And of course, second is weight matters. Yeah, the heavier your bike is, the so-called power to weight ratio. So the heavier your bike is, the harder it is for the climb. So if you are overweight, it is also hard for you to climb. Lowering your body weight can be a tricky task, and it's important that any weight loss is achieved in a healthy way. You cannot lose weight and gain power indefinitely. There will be a point where you begin to lose power, which is the more crucial element of the equation. If you do aim to lose weight, you'll need to achieve a calorie deficit, expend more calories than you consume. To do so, you should cut excess calories such as fizzy drinks or processed sugars in pastries, candy bars, and chocolates, colas, sodas, and many more. A deficit of 200 to 300 calories a day would see you lose around zero point 0.5 kilograms a week. Whales also have plenty of energy to train and increase your power output. Whatever you do, ensure that you fuel your workouts with sufficient nutrition. You wouldn't drive your car on empty, so don't expect a hungry body to perform. Always proper nutrition. Train also the right muscles. Contrary to popular opinion, improving your climbing does not stop at power to weight. You need to prepare the effect an upward pointing road as a muscle elsewhere in your body. While indoor training will help you to gain power, it is still surprising how many riders train exclusively indoors and then are surprised when they don't perform well at a local hill climb. Climbing involves a different physics calculation than a flat land riding, especially as the road gets steeper. As the road tilts up, your weight shifts back and you'll probably change your hand position, saddle position, and center of gravity. If you're not used to pedaling like this, you will be using your muscles at different angle and a different range of motion than ever before. Like any other training, a weak muscle will quickly fatigue. So if you're not used to climbing, you won't be good at climbing. This is what you call experience. So you have different range of motion for your muscles. So the angle between climbing and the angle on the flats are different. The muscles being used in climbing and the muscles being used in the flats are different. So you need to have really a good experience in climbing so that your muscle memory will be applied and your muscles can do a varied effort once you are really on a climb. Practice as much as possible on the type of climbs and gradients that you will be training or competing on. If you're stuck indoors for the winter or don't have enough daylight to train outside, you can try something like, yeah, I don't want to mention this one, but these are actually good stuffs. But you have to just have to, if you have a trainer or something like that, yeah, you just have to modify it. Next is hone technique. Climb technique is sometimes overcomplicated, but there are some areas that deserve your attention. Yes, the cadence conundrum. Cadence is how fast you pedal. It's also key, especially as the climb gets steeper. In a perfect world, you'll be able to climb at your preferred cadence all the time, for which people is between 80 to 90 revolutions per minute. This is preferred cadence. Whatever feels most natural to you is your fastest and most efficient cadence. However, it's important to train both high and low cadences in case you need them. When you tackle a 15% climb, for example, unless you have a gigantic cassette with a wide spread of gears, you won't be able to pedal at 90 rotations per minute. Thus, it's important to do low cadence drills such as 5-minute blocks at 80% or 50 to 60 RPM to train your ability to grind a big gear up a steep climb. Okay, so you have to also do the perfect pedal stroke. So let me tackle this one. It is a myth that there's an ideal cycling pedal stroke. In fact, professional cyclists have some choppiest and most out of balance pedal strokes that can be seen. Some again, their toes pointed downward, while others pedal with their knees out. Some bounce up and down, strong and stable. What is important is that you have a strong and stable cycling position and pedal stroke that will steer you clear of injury. It is best to keep up with a professional bike fit once a year and make sure you're protecting the joints that are prone to chronic injuries such as lower back, hips, and knees and ankles. Stand up or sit down. So this is where we're going to argue on climbing. When it comes to standing up versus sitting down, there still isn't much science to suggest that one is better than the other. And your choice should mostly come down to personal preference. So stand up or sit down, it's your choice, it's your personal preference. If you spend lots of time out of the saddle, you will need a strong core and upper body to keep dancing up the climbs. Some evidence suggests that getting out of saddle increases heart rate and perceived effort, but many cyclists use it to increase their power output for a short period of time. So there is clearly a trade-off, but it's certainly an ability that is trainable, especially for short and steep climbs. So another thing is to get aero on shallow climbs. Also consider at which you are climbing because the faster you're going, the more aerodynamic matters. Thus, staying seated, pulling in your elbows, staying low will be fastest on shallow gradients. Whereas getting out of the saddle won't make much difference on a 50% climb. Okay, shallow aerodynamic position on a shallow climb. So the bottom line is, on climbing, there is more than one way to improve your climbing ability. More than one way. Which mostly comes down to your power to weight ratio and how comfortable you are going up hills. You don't need to overdo it and start hill climbing every day. In fact, the period of rest are what makes you stronger and help you improve the most in the long run. Practice hill climbs once or twice a week, performing intervals on the specific hills that you're training for. Sessions on indoor trainer can be used when not possible to get out or need to be away from traffic and distractions. Remember to be specific with your training and target the power zones that you will be utilizing on the climbs. Hill climbing is much an art as it is a sport. The strongest legs don't always win. When the road tilts up, because you do, you have to have the comfort and the confidence to match. Practice doing intervals in or out of the saddle. Ride at low cadences, high cadences, and practice steep climbs as well as shallow ones. Put it all together and you will no longer have a weakness on the climb. In fact, maybe the one leaving everyone in the dust. So, always remember that. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry we don't have a video on how to do this, but I hope you have a lesson learned on how to climb hills, especially to the newbie ones. Thank you.